I'm your host, Betsy, and this is my co-host, Christina, and we're here to have conversations with women from all over the big country about our faith and what it looks like to walk in the wilderness seasons of this world. Y'all listen along for weekly encouragements and wisdom, and thank you for joining us on this Wildly Seen, Totally Loved podcast journey. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hey friends, Christina here. Betsy and I want to thank you for joining us on this journey of the Wildly Seen, Totally Loved podcast. Before we get started today, we just wanted to remind everyone that this ministry is supported by listeners like you. Would you be interested in partnering with us today? Wildly Seen, Totally Loved is offering sponsorship packages that will promote your business on our show and are also accepting donations. If you would like more information on sponsorships, please send us an email to wstlpod@gmail.com. Find our donation link and email address in the show notes below. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you enjoy this conversation just as much as we did. Welcome to Wildly Seen, Totally Loved. We're here with one of my favorite ladies, GiGi Robinson. And so we're going to let GiGi tell us a little bit about where she's from and her life these days. Go for it.
Born and raised in Anson, and back there now. I married.
Wait, time out. In the same house you grew up in.
In the same house I grew up in.
So cool.
Things come full circle. It was kind of a bad way that it happened because my dad passed and my stepmom moved into Wesley Court, and she has since passed. So we've renovated and redone and made it ours. So it's super cool. Yeah. Married to William for 41 years, which is a story in itself. Cool. We have one grown son, Jamie, a precious daughter-in-law, Tamara, and two fabulous grandkids. Wells is 10 and a half, and Ellis is 8. And they all live here in Abilene. And awesome. The kids go to school at Austin.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay, so I know you, well, from church mostly, but we also got to coach against each other for a little while. So you were at Clyde for years coaching and teaching. And I think in my dream world, I can say this. In my dream world, I would be coaching with Julie Goodenough and GiGi Robinson. And we would be building a phenomenal basketball program.
It would.
And we would have some mighty young women coming up out of that.
That would be cool. I know things happen for a reason. We had one adult son and never chose. We made a decision not to have any more kids. And but the Lord placed me in front of a lot of girls. Mm-hmm. I was an educator for 30 years, 29 of those at Clyde. And I calculated one day that, 120 kids came through my classroom every day, not including the kids that I had in my athletic programs. And so that was kind of my mission field, per se.
For sure.
I was a girls athletic coordinator. I coached basketball, softball, track. I had certifications in PE, in health, and communications, and just wherever they wanted me to go. That was what I did. I was great with it. It was a great profession, especially when you have kids in school.
So I love it. We just talked about this earlier, but your favorite class was the leadership class that you taught, and that is like you to a T. I mean, you are the epitome of a leader, and I think it even translates into your fashion sense. Like you just don't care what people think. You just
try not
do
to.
What you do, unless we put you on a podcast or something. So anyways, I love your attitude and your confidence and just who you are. You're always the same. You're always GiGi, and you always stand out. And I just think
I stand out because I'm tall. But that's what my husband says. He said, "You're tall and you're blonde," and that.
How tall are you?
6'1".
Yeah,
and so is he on a good day.
Yes.
We're both about the same height if I'm barefoot.
So. I love, too, that you still wear tall shoes.
Oh, yes.
That was one of the first things I noticed about you is that you were tall and Will was the same height as you. And we would see you at church as this couple who I loved. I was always drawn to y'all. But then I would notice that you had high heels on. And I'm like, I love that she owns that. Like, I didn't have the confidence to do that. And Luke and I are the same height. So I still wear flats.
It's probably not his favorite. Sometimes he'll say for me to go stand over there, but he's okay with it.
Yeah. Y'all made it 41 years. So
we did. Shoes don't matter. When I was teaching, and especially in that leadership program, I stood at the door every day and welcomed my kids in. And I had some freshman young men that were a little challenge, and they were big and tall. And so there were days I wore 3 or 4 inch heels at the door and was looking down upon them. And that kind of gave me a little bit of a presence in the classroom, and especially coaching. I did the same thing coaching, always dressed very nice on the sidelines. It was a profession, and that's how I treated it.
That's old school, and
old school.
That. I love that. Let's bring
Old
that
school.
back. Okay, let's ask a couple of fun questions to get us going. So what is your favorite place to shop? We're going to ask about groceries and clothing, so help us out here.
Oh, grocery shopping is probably my least favorite thing to do. And I know we love to eat, but I don't know. I like United. I think they have good, that'd be my grocery stop. They have fun stuff in there too for your house. Clothes, I'm a Goodwill, secondhand, boutique.
Son's closet from 20
Son's
years ago.
closet. My pants today were my son. He graduated in high school in 2002. And these were some pants that I cut 12 inches off. I've made them some hippie pants.
So you walked out of your car and I met you on the sidewalk and I was like, dang, she looks so cute. Look how cute those pants are. So then she's like, I like your pants, Betsy. I'm like, oh, I love yours. And she tells me this story of her pants. And I'm like, of course you did. That is GiGi Robinson to a T.
And
like,
that was one of the first things I said when she walked in.
Yeah.
Oh, I love your pants.
Gap men's jeans.
And I already had planned to ask you, like, where do you shop? Which was so fun because I was like, absolutely, we're going to ask that question. So good.
Well, with my background and my history, there was a lot of Goodwill shopping.
Okay. I'm anxious to hear more of that. I know a glimpse, but I don't know all of it, so I'm ready for this day. So what is a product you use daily in your life? It could be anything from, what you put in your coffee to what you put on your skin.
Well, coffee, obviously.
Every day.
I'm a coffee in the morning and an iced coffee in the afternoon, but I'm a huge everyday Mary Kay. I had horrible acne as probably an 8th grader and a freshman in high school, and spent some time at the dermatologist, and they did a couple of procedures on me that were very painful. And I just made a decision then that I was going to change my diet, what I put in my body, and Mary Kay kind of helped heal some of the places on my face. And so I've just kind of been a firm believer, and I have a family member is my Mary Kay go-to person.
Well, I won't throw your age under the bus, but I hope my skin looks as good as yours when I am your age.
Same. I'm sitting real close and thinking she's got really good skin. So shout out to Mary Kay.
I do wear a lot of hats outside too. So I saw a video when I was in high school of a person that smoked and how it aged your skin 7 times as fast.
Oh my.
And I just realized there was lots of things that I could avoid, and that was going to be one of them.
Yeah.
Not that I'm perfect, but I saw that and I was like, I don't want to look 80 when I'm 50.
Right. So I want to add this in because not only did you teach and coach but you run barrels.
Yes.
And still to this day, and
still till last night.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's a whole world that you have on the side that's so awesome. And you also work at the church.
Yes.
And that's like a full-time job in itself, just keeping up with Cody Cochran, right?
Yep. It takes Darren over there behind the camera. Yes. It takes both of us. And I sometimes think that may be not enough.
So you're very busy. What do you do for fun though?
I would say the grandkids. The grandkids are a lot of fun. Wells is involved in 3 sports. Ellis is at 8 years old, is now involved in 3 sports. And so we spend a lot of time in Abilene with their events. So that's fun. That's something that William and I do together that we both love, other than house projects. We love DIY stuff around the house.
For sure.
But I would say just, I like riding. I like the part of exercising horses, and it keeps me fit, and hanging out with that group of people too as well.
Do you still run?
No. I do some like lifting. I call it stretching with weights at this point in time, but I just do that. But no, it hurt my feet too bad.
Yeah, I bet. You used to run a lot. I mean,
a lot.
Even coaching, like with a full coaching schedule and riding barrels and doing all the things, you were still running.
When I guess after I got out of coaching, I had JV cheerleaders for about 6 years, and we conditioned like it was an athletic program. I mean, we conditioned, and if they dropped a stunt, which they did, we would run to the donut shop and back, which was from the high school in Clyde to downtown.
Yeah.
And we did that. If they dropped one of their teammates.
And you say we because you did too.
Yeah, because I would just, okay, change your shoes,
Let's
ladies,
go.
here we go. And we would run to the donut shop, not get a donut, and turn around and jog back.
Not get a donut. That's
And so that was always the joke. We can go to the donut shop today.
Okay, so maybe you don't run anymore, but let's talk about your steps. How many steps do you get a day?
A lot. I'm a tracker. I'm one of those that I've got an app and a smartwatch, and so of course horse steps usually count, so that's part of it. But usually 25,000.
That blows
impressive.
my mind.
So that's why I don't run. I don't feel like I need to go out.
I think
and I always
like,
I'm going to take the dogs for a walk, and I may go to the pond, or we have a cool tank behind our house, and I may go do some stuff like that. But I just get a lot of, I don't sit. I don't sit very well. I just soon not. There'll be a time for that, but it's not right now.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Teach me all the things.
Yeah.
Gigi.
Gosh.
Teach me.
No.
I love it.
I need to be your age and
We're gonna
still
come- we're gonna come
functioning as
follow
well
you
as you
around.
are.
No.
I love it.
Okay, so Gigi, let's dig a little bit deeper and start. I know that your wilderness season started when you were in high school.
Yes.
So let's just start from there, high school Gigi,
Whew.
and into the wilderness season.
Boy, I don't know how I made it. I really don't. At 8 years old, my mom was diagnosed with lymphoma when I was 8 years old. And I had 2 older brothers that were 10 years older than me, and they're 13 months apart. So they were high school age, graduating high school, and I was at home. And so my mom lived with cancer treatments until I was 16. And at 16 years old, she passed from the lymphoma. And she was an operating room nurse. Just people that see me now as an adult, they're like, you're just like your mom. She lost her hair with chemo, and when it grew back out, she kept a Susan powder bleached blonde buzz cut. Just super fit woman. She would walk several miles from our house to the highway and put a rock in a cup until she filled the cup up. And then when the cup was full, she'd walk and take a pebble out. That was just her. She was very, very fit. Drove a motorcycle from Anson to Abilene to work at the hospital. She was an emergency room nurse. She was worked for an open heart surgeon. Her dream for me was 2 things: was to be a nurse, and to play college basketball. And so I was not going to be a nurse because I passed out when they pierced my ears. So I knew from the beginning. But anyway, my mom passed at 16, and that about 2 months later, I had to go in and have a conversation with my dad that I was pregnant.
Oh.
So in a very short period of time, my dad lost his wife and has pretty much lost his daughter in his eyes. Hard season.
So were you pregnant when your mom passed?
I was.
You were. Did you know?
I did, but I didn't tell my mom.
Mm.
And at that time, I can remember I was 16. At 14, I had my hardship license, and I was driving to my mom to MD Anderson for treatments, carrying a gun. Because MD Anderson, that's a rough part of the world.
Yeah.
And so, I'm 14, and I've got a legal driver's license, and I'm driving in downtown Houston with my mom, halfway sick, passing out. And I just had to grow up.
Wow.
I didn't have time to.
This explains a lot about you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see.
So, yeah. It was there was this days, it was just, what is it going to be today? I went to church as a junior high kid and as a high school kid, but I only went because that's where the boys were.
Yeah.
I wasn't boy crazy, but that's where my friends were. And my friends were guys.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the drama, of the high school drama. So I would, go to the barn and ride horses, or my dad hauled me all over the place to compete in rodeos and quarter horse shows and stuff like that. And so I had my mom and I had the sex talk on the way one day, and I was like, I would never do that. And I had already done that. And I just wasn't, I didn't want to hurt her any more than she was hurting.
Yeah.
So her best friend told me about a month after my mom passed away, when everybody found out that I was pregnant, she was like, oh, by the way, your mom knew. So it was like a huge
Knew
blow.
that you were having sex, or knew that you were pregnant?
She knew that I was pregnant. I only had sex once.
Oh.
It happens. And both of us use protection. I'm not going to lie.
Oh my
So when you,
gosh.
I mean, I'm not saying, but
Yeah.
God had a plan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I'm not saying, I would talk to my kids in my leadership classes about the choices that I made.
Yeah.
Because about November, when they can't turn in their homework, I'm like, you don't have an excuse. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one good enough.
Yeah.
Because and we chose to get married. William pursued me, and I was like, you've got to be kidding. But we chose to get married. We had best friends betting money against us, which was a good bet. I mean, the odds were not in our favor.
Yeah.
My dad was very disappointed.
So wait, time's out. So this is with your still husband now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it all worked out.
Cool, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of blessings in that. And my dad was not very happy. He was very disappointed and my mom told me, my dream is for you to play college basketball. That wasn't my dream in the beginning. I wanted to college rodeo. And you really can't college rodeo married with a kid. Mm. I mean, it's hard to do anywhere.
Yeah.
So I was recruited. I was a decent basketball player in high school, went to high school in Anson. And I was recruited my junior year by a coach at WTC in Snyder. And I went there my senior year, and he had left. And a new guy came in. And he wasn't a fan. He wasn't a fan of a married girl with a kid. Mm-hmm. And so I just begged for a tryout. And he ended up giving me a scholarship and said he wished all of his athletes were married with kids because he knew where I was at night.
Oh.
Huh.
So I was, raising a kid, and William was just, unfortunately for William, he was playing baseball at Hardin-Simmons. He was 21. I was 16. He, didn't go back to school. He continued. He just wanted to work, and it allowed me to go to school. So I played all my high school basketball. Ended up playing 2 years at WTC in Snyder. We were the number 4 team in the nation my sophomore year. And he drove to Senatobia, Mississippi to watch us play in the national tournament with a kid. And so his parents were not very fond of me either, because I represented the horse world. And he was a bull rider at the time. And that's kind of where we met.
Yeah.
We met at a rodeo. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And so we just had a really hard start. We didn't have that really fun, let's go get engaged and have a long engagement and a beautiful ceremony. That's not how it worked.
What did y'all's wedding look like? Did y'all have
it? It was in the front yard of the house that I live in now.
Yeah.
With some friends.
Oh my gosh.
So it all comes full circle. And so after WTC, I was recruited. There was 3 of us that were recruited to go play Division I at Sam Houston State. So his parents were not fond of the decision, but when I was playing college basketball at Snyder, which is where he is from, his parents, we formed a great relationship.
That's awesome.
I ended up being the favorite.
No doubt.
Just because we just worked through it. The best thing that we did was when we left Snyder, we went to Sam Houston in Huntsville, and it was just him and I and Jamie. Mm-hmm. That was it. Mm-hmm. And then we had no one else to rely on. Yep. It was just us.
Yeah.
And so graduated from Sam. I played 4 years of college basketball, and then got a coaching job and coached down there for about 1.5 years in a really, really, really tough district.
Yeah.
Never told my dad.
Head coach or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was a head basketball coach and head track coach in a 3A school at 21 years old.
Wow.
And that was a lot. I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
Which is that is a lot in itself, but you also had a baby and a new marriage.
Right.
And that is a lot in itself.
A lot.
So I can't even imagine.
A lot. There was a lot of moving parts to that.
Yeah.
It was a very tough school district. And I never really shared with my dad until we got back. And there was a deal on the news. A teacher was shot and killed in the district that I was at. And my dad was like, "Isn't that where you were?" And I was like, "Yes." He was like, "Why didn't I know?" I said, "You didn't need to know.
Yeah.
You didn't need to know." That's why I left. I mean, I'd applied at 31 schools when I was down there to move back to this area. And Clyde hired me. And I stayed there for 29 of my 30 years. And so And then I'm been retired there for 3 years. And it was hard to leave. That was me. That was my, those kids, the school, that was what I did.
I loved watching you in that role, because I was just a little junior high coach at Anson. And so I would go over with the varsity team or whatever, and you'd be coaching, and it was just fun to see you in that role.
Yeah.
So
I was a hard coach, but I played for a super hard coach in Snyder.
Yeah.
But we were the number 4 team in the nation, and that's why we were good. He
Yeah.
was hard, and I carried a lot of that. I was also the coach. If we didn't play well, we would all load up and go back to the school and practice or run.
I love it.
I was one of those. But this particular coach that I played for at WTC, we were getting ready to go to McLennan to play a big conference game, and he was upset with 2 of our teammates because they beat him in a racquetball. And we ran 44 sets of lines and boarded a bus and drove to Waco and played a conference ball game.
Oh my gosh.
It takes a long time to run 44 sets of lines.
Yes, it does.
And then we ended up, and then you get on a bus and you get really stiff, and then you go warm back up and play a conference ball game and win by 30.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
I'm sitting here listening to I'm just in awe. Like my jaw's like, and then I'm just impressed. I know Gigi-ish, but I don't know Gigi's story.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty crazy.
I knew the big parts, but I did. The details make it even 1,000 times better.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And so anyway, ended up back at Clyde and been retired from there for 3 years. Really wasn't. I always knew I'd probably serve at the church in some capacity. We've been with Bethel since Cody's been there. I guess he's been there 3 weeks before we ever went.
Wow.
We were back at the old church in the very, very small church. And
So you were talking earlier in the conversation about how, like, when you were in high school, you went to church because that's where your friends were. So in this life of yours, when did you, and before I even ask that question, like, I was just sitting here thinking of a 14-year-old driving her sick mom with cancer in Houston. Like, that's the Lord. That's
exactly.
There's no explanation of how y'all both survived that.
Exactly.
Did you feel stressed during that or anxious, or did you just kind of have to catch a gear and go?
You just have to go.
Yeah.
I mean, you just catch a gear and go.
All that.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, you just catch a gear and go. I mean, Dad was working, the brothers were off doing their things, and so I was the one. And my dad had gone, and my mom's best friend had gone, but it was my turn.
Yeah.
And so I had to go. She had to go get treatments.
Is like exactly why you are the way you are now. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like what that did in you and your character.
Yeah.
I mean,
like to let you know that you were capable of way more than you probably ever realized.
Yeah. You were not coddled.
I grew up with 2 brothers but I was also the kid. I've got pictures that I've got my 2 older brothers, like I say, they're 10 years older than me. And the youngest of the 2 has since passed. He passed about 9 years ago. But 2 brothers, 2 cousins, and 2 friends. And I share this laughingly, but that was just my mindset. All the boys in cut-off jeans and no shirt on their motorcycles. And I was at the end at 6 or 7 years old, cut-offs, no shirt, and on my bicycle.
Yeah.
I was just one of the guys. I just did whatever they did, and I just whatever had to be done, I was good with it. Grew up horseback, motorcycles, dune buggies, very tomboyish.
Yeah.
It's a wonder can dress.
You got great fashion.
Yeah, she's so yes.
But yes, and like I say, at that time didn't really have a relationship with the Lord, knew who He was. Obviously, He was taking great care of me in many different seasons of my life. My parents really didn't go to church. They would take me and wanted me to go and encouraged me to go. But when I was at SAM, William and I got in with some great young couples. We started attending a church that was actually at a skating rink. Oh. And so at Saturday night, there was a skating rink. And on Sunday morning, we went to the only church that had a disco ball. So we would put up chairs, and we just got super involved with a very cool
That's
church.
Why you can hang at Bethel.
Yes. And so there is where, I made that decision and to follow the Lord, and had some great guidance William especially, but some young friends that I knew from church, and she and I rode together, and we're still talk to them, a lot. They work. Joe walks, and Robbie and them, they come in, and they're out in East Texas now. And so, and that was obviously the best thing I ever did. I was baptized in a state park in Huntsville State Park, in the river or in the lake or whatever it is, with little fishies nibbling on my ankles.
That's awesome. So, tell us about your marriage now.
Oh, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, I know a lot of people, they have a hard season when their kids leave. Mm-hmm. Jamie graduated from Clyde High School in 2002. He ended up going to Texas A&M and being a decathlete, which is 10 track and field events. And so we spent a lot of time on the road with him. And then he transferred to South Plains in Levelland and won the junior college national championship as a decathlete, and then ended up at Tech. So he was a high school athlete. My husband was a high school athlete, and it was really kind of cool. William played college baseball. I played college basketball. Mm. Jamie ran college track.
That's so cool.
And having the start that we had, that really probably should have not happened.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that probably shouldn't have happened.
That doesn't meet statistics.
No, it doesn't. No, I was a good statistic. But we followed Jamie for 5 years, and just, he got to travel to some really cool places. He won the conference championship. He ended up going to nationals in Sacramento, California. But we never vacationed. We never did anything. Yeah. Our money was spent just day to day and whatever Jamie needed for college. And he was on scholarships, and he paid his way for the most part. We helped when we could. But that was vacation time, was driving to Lincoln, Nebraska, or Ames, Iowa. And so that was a super, super cool season after the really, really hard seasons of all of that.
That's very sweet to think about that.
So, but now it's good. It's like 41 years, and I think at year 35, we finally went on a true, what you would call, anniversary vacation.
Oh,
so other than a Rangers game,
right? So y'all have really one of the sweetest little relationships that I've watched. Y'all are always sweet and kind to each other.
That's William. That's him.
I know.
It's all him. I say
really
it's all him. It's huge to him. He has,
he loves you well.
Me being in high school, his parents' dream were for him to play college sports. Just like any parent, you want your kids to go and do those things. And anyway, he had to make some hard choices to not do that.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
He's
a good dude.
He might be listening right now, so we got to brag on him.
Oh yeah, he will be. At some point in time, I promise you, he will be.
He's tuning in.
He's tuning in.
I love it.
But he would also be my number one fan. Whether it was, he loved it when I coached. He's always said, you need to go back and coach. You want to go coach in Anson? And I'm like,
when you do, you tell me, I'll come join you.
That's a season that I think is gone. Yeah. But, if it's horses or whatever, he's, if he doesn't go, I need to see a video. And he's, he's the number one fan for sure.
I love that. Okay. So we kind of touched a little bit on this, but maybe you have some more specifics for us. What can you see? Because, we always talk about God works all things together for the good. And so obviously the good fruit of like getting to watch your son compete at college level and different things and traveling to go be with him and all of that is great fruit. But what is some more fruit that you've seen from your wilderness season? How did the Lord turn that to good?
Teaching high school kids in that leadership program, I went through a training called Capturing Kids' Hearts, which I would recommend for anybody. And I don't, that leadership program is in a lot of schools, and it's just called Team Leadership. But I remember there was a young man that I had that was a freshman, and towards the end, he knew my story because I was very open. I wasn't going to hide. Those kids need to know that we weren't perfect teachers. Yep. And a lot of those teachers struggled that I shared that part of my story that I shouldn't share, that I was condoning it. I was like, no, if I can get one kid to not do what I did, I'll share.
For sure.
But this young man, his mom and dad were coming to pick him up from school, and they had a head-on collision, and his mom was killed one day while he was at school. And he knew that I had dealt with loss and struggles, and he had reached out to me. And the principal had said, I'm not real good about, I don't like it when students and teachers, text or phone call. And I said, well, we'll just put you in on this too. You can be the administrator, but I need to be, I wanted to be able to communicate with him if he needed something or just a place to talk, or that it's going to be okay, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
And so there's been times like that. Coaching girls athletics, I was very adamant on them about, self-worth.
Yep.
Your worth is not in somebody else.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
yeah, lots of opportunities in education.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Where I don't even know where to go from here.
I know.
What does a normal day
Oh, gosh.
look like for GiGi Robinson?
Well,
Also spiritually. So like give us your, devotion routine too in the middle of all the things you do. So
I would love to say I'm great at that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the coolest blessing about working at Bethel. There's a lot of time when I'm at work.
Mm-hmm.
Cody and the guys, we have devotionals there, which is perfect.
Yeah.
It's funny. He'll assign
so cool
books.
that you fit in there like that.
Yeah, it's cool. And sometimes I'm sitting in the group in a kind of a casual area. Sometimes I may be sitting at my desk, just depending on what I've got to get done that day. But it's really cool that I can get that there if I don't do it at home. And he likes to do. He likes to give everybody a book and have us read. And then we'll come back and talk about, he'll say, read this much before next week.
Yeah.
And so he's given some really good books, a book called These Things on Discipleship, which is, just parts of the Bible and just kind of breaks it down instead of just reading the Bible. You can read kind of some different things of that. But I'm a morning person. If it's the summertime, I'm up super early, feed super early, get all my horse riding, barn chores done super early before it gets hot. And then I go hang out at the church and then try to be off whenever William gets off and whatever we've got to do.
What does your prayer life look like, even from 16-year-old lost your mom, Gigi, to now, Gigi? Like, what does your prayer life look like?
I know whenever I was, of course, the decisions that I made, there was days it was just, I had to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
It was just, and then, getting married, kind of a shotgun wedding. My brother that is now deceased and my dad, after I told my dad, William was really smart, he hid out for a couple of weeks because my dad was really one of those guys. I didn't date. Nobody came to my house. I didn't go on a date. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so, but my mom loved William.
Oh my gosh.
Loved him. She was good with him. And it was really hard on William when my mom was super sick at the end. He struggled with that. Well, I didn't really have an option. I just kind of had to hang out and do whatever had to be done. And so, like I say, her dream was for me to play college basketball, and I pursued that, and that was a good blessing. That was super cool because it didn't cost me. I paid $2,800 for my student teaching of my entire education.
Oh, wow.
So that's a blessing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But prayer life, I'm an outdoorsy person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sit at a desk or a table a lot. And just so if I'm in the barn, outside, a lot of prayer, a lot of, walking, just nature in the barn, cleaning stalls. It's a good time to, pray about situations, praying for other people that are on my heart, as we have, prayer lists and thinking about people and what can I do better to serve them.
That's awesome. Okay. So I don't know. After listening to you, I was going to ask you this question. I've been anxious to hear what you were going to say the whole day, but at the same time, I don't know if you struggle with this. It doesn't seem like you do. How do you combat worry? Like you've got this baby that you've got to keep alive. You've got this college schedule. You've got, and even now, like you wear a lot of hats and carry a lot of loads. So how do you combat worry?
I had a bracelet made. And a lot of I'm very competitive, and that was my coaching deal. I was super, super competitive. Well, that kind of switches gears now to other things, horses or whatever. Very OCD. But I just, I probably fear of failure. Just don't want to be a failure in anybody's eyes. I hate to think I would concern what other people think, but by nature you do.
Yeah.
You teach high school girls and you coach high school girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's a game, you have to step up your game to walk into a classroom.
Yeah.
I taught an upper level leadership program of PALS kids. And they were the leaders of the school in different capacities, not necessarily in sports, but just they were leaders in their peer groups. And so there was, you had to be on your A game every day and what you said, how you conducted yourself, because those kids were picking it up on everything.
Yeah.
Not that I was perfect, and they knew my story and they knew that I was perfect, but they also knew that I couldn't carry that ball and chain of my choices and losing a parent. I mean, my dad's fear for me was to stay in the little bitty community and work in a little bitty convenience store and never get out and go and do.
Yeah.
And he challenged me with that that particular night when I told him.
Yeah.
He said, "You're just going to end up here and not ever make anything."
And you're just the kind of person that says,
Just
I'll show you.
watch this. Hold my coffee and watch
that's
this.
It. That's it. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So you didn't have room for worry because you just were on mission. You were just on.
Get it done.
Yep.
Yeah.
GSD, get stuff done.
Something like that, right?
Something like that. Yeah. That's kind of the motto.
Yeah, I like it.
Me too.
Kind of the motto.
Me
Yeah.
too.
I do. I mean, I don't know. These days, your anxieties change. You're maybe more anxious for your grandkids that are in public schools and just, their friend groups and making decisions, and you don't want them to have the hardships maybe that you had. Jamie and Tamara do a great, great, great job of that. We spend a lot of time with them, and so that's super cool. Super, super cool. So,
okay, share with us a life scripture.
Proverbs 16:9, the heart of a man. I'm going to cheat and look at my phone because I don't want to paraphrase it. Yeah, the heart of a man plans his ways, but the Lord establishes his steps. And there are days that I'm literally one foot in front of the other. And so sometimes I have my plan, and that gets rerouted. And I used to be terrible at that. I used to be terrible at change and not being flexible. And so I've just had to learn to be a little bit more flexible. Yeah. Go with it.
I think some of that comes with age. Like,
yes.
I feel like I'm more like that now than I was even 5 years ago.
Yeah. And we had William got COVID in August of 21, and he was super, super, super sick. And he wouldn't go to the hospital. And that was probably one of the harder, your prayer life changes when it's COVID and you've been on social media and you're seeing a lot of the things. Very healthy people are succumbing to the disease. And so he got very, very, very sick. And thank goodness, all things work. That was my first fall that I didn't go back to school. I couldn't have gone back to school. He wouldn't go to the hospital. The treatments were damaging kidneys, and he had given a kidney to his dad 15 years prior. So he only had one kidney.
Yeah.
And so that changes your prayer life. It changes your outlook on when you think, gosh, I hope he makes it through the night.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not going to the hospital. He said, I'll die right here before. And I was like, oh, dear Lord.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And so that was a struggle. And Cody had made a meatloaf and sent Jennifer to the house. And William was like, don't let anybody in the house. And I was like, I had tried to go out the back door, and she had come in the front door, and she saw him laying on the couch and how sick he was. And she set the meatloaf down and gave me a hug, and she left and went home and told Cody and said, he's not going to make it. And so they called Dr. Ben, which Dr. Ben's, we've heard, and they got him hooked up with us, and we would speakerphone and write notes, and he walked us through the nebulizing, and a $7 bottle of hydrogen peroxide is what he nebulized that kept him from a very serious or near death. It was rough. It was the hardest 7 weeks. I spent a lot of time outside at night, just walking and pacing and crying and praying like, I'll do anything. Yeah. Just let us work through this.
Yeah.
So there's been some seasons.
Wow.
Jeez.
Okay.
I just want you to keep talking.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
How do you feel like that season, and even just looking back at like all the college and a baby and all, how do you feel like those have prepared you for the next hard season?
Yeah.
Isn't it such a reality that we just have hard seasons?
Yeah.
There's just never going to be a day where all of it's gone until we get to heaven. You know?
Yeah. That one, when you're an adult and your kids are grown and it's just you and him at the house and you're looking at you could be looking at a totally different reality of, number one, is he going to survive this? Because I couldn't even get on social media. I had to turn off social media because it made me sick of what I was reading, because I was living that at my house and I put nothing on social media.
Yeah.
Nothing. I definitely didn't put that on there. I would communicate with special friends. We need prayers and things like that. But yeah, that changes your whole perspective. When we get through this, we're going to do whatever we want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to travel. If that's what we want to do, we're going to travel. We're going to go and we're going to do.
And y'all have now. What's your favorite place to travel to?
At the beach.
Yes.
Any beach. We like the Dominican. That's a cool beach. We like blue waters and white sands.
Love it.
Same.
I love that y'all got it
too.
We don't do it but once a year, but it's something we look forward to all the time.
It's so good.
So,
GiGi, is there anything we haven't touched on that you want to
oh gosh, I don't know.
throw out there?
I think that's the short. That's the
the
Cliff
short
Notes.
version.
That's the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
That'll get us 100 on the AR test. So, what is one piece of advice that you would give anyone out there sitting on the fence in their faith?
Oh gosh, don't wait as long as I did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, I think I wasted some good time because I knew I was exposed. I went to every church. I went to the Baptist church. I went to the Methodist church. I went to the Church of Christ.
Yeah.
And I was exposed to it, but I was kind of one of those people. I was like, well, I do good deeds.
Yeah.
But it's not a deeds thing.
Oof.
You can't do that. And I kind of had that in my heart because, I was raised by great parents. And, you hear that, well, if, dads, love on your daughters and do those things so they don't go. My dad didn't do anything to make me make that choice. I made that choice all by myself.
Yeah.
I made that choice. I lived with it. I struggled with it at the beginning, but there were choices that were never, abortion, adoption, and none of that ever crossed my mind. No, I made that choice. I'm good. I'll move on. We'll make it. So,
if everybody could just have like a teeny bit of regret, the world would be a different place. Dang.
Well, when I was teaching that leadership program about November, when kids couldn't turn in their homework, and we're late to school and all the things, I would lock the door and say we're going to have a talk. Because when I was your age, I was married with a kid, and I didn't miss school. I played 4 sports, and I didn't turn in the homework, so I went late. And
Why
I gave up a lot.
November?
Because they do good till about the end of football season. And then when it's not important,
then they stop.
the wheels fall off.
Yeah. Okay.
The news worn off as well.
Yeah. I'd heard you say November a couple times. I'm like,
and so,
November.
September, it's all fun and they're trying to impress their friends. And October, the teachers are really starting to pour the work on them. And then November, you're really.
Everybody's fried.
Yeah. Everybody's fried and they're done.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're not done. You have no idea what you're capable of. So I would just shut the door and I'd tell them at the beginning, because we would do little introductory speeches, and I'd say, you'll hear my story later. There'll be a time.
Yeah.
And I could always tell when it was time.
Yeah.
They had matured. They were open. The leadership program was great for appropriate relationship building. That was my first semester. And there was a time to start sharing that part of my story.
Yeah.
And at first, I thought it would change how they looked at me. And kids would come to me and be like, "Oh my gosh!" It was always like, "I'm not telling you to tell you what I did was right.
Yeah,
what I did was wrong.
Yeah.
I made that choice, but I chose to live with the choice and move forward."
Yep.
So,
okay. Well, I want to keep talking, but it's time to wrap this up. And thank you for being here. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me. You guys have done great. I've listened to them. I love them. I don't feel worthy sometimes coming on here, but thank you for the invite. It was perfect.
You're awesome.
You are so worthy.
You're so awesome. You are so worthy.
Thank
you. Your story has been just inspiring.
Well, good.
And I think if anybody can get anything out of this, it's that you are more capable than what you realize.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like a true statement of we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us.
Yeah.
Like winning football games and basketball games and all that is great. But life, this is we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And you're just a testimony of it. And
I know.
It's good. Awesome. It's good.
Okay. So Christina's going to close us out in prayer, and then we'll wrap up with a little encouragement.
Okay.
God, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for GiGi and her grit and her grind and who you've created her to be, and just the kids that you have placed in her life throughout the years for her to pour into and to lead, God. And God, I pray that through that they seen you and that they made good decisions based on that, God, that you would let that continue on through the lives that GiGi has touched, that it would move on to generations of the kids that she's touched, God. And God, that our listeners would just hear that they are so capable of much more than they even realize, God. And God, that you do give us strength and power through our wilderness seasons and through this thing that we call life, God. And so, God, we, again, just thank you for all that you're doing. And we ask these things today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we say eyes up, mind steady, spirit stirring for our guest. And man, I just want to encourage you to keep your eyes up to the things of the Lord and mind steady on the truth of his word, to really believe the truth of who you are and who he's called you to be,
Absolutely.
Man. And then spirit stirring for the cool things that he has for your family in this next season.
I'm in.
Let's do it. I love it. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.